The fourth principle is anticipation. Now, the way movements occur here on Earth and with the law of physics and everything, before we take any action, right? There's a normally there is that build up of we we build up energy. For instance, this person is about to this character is about to throw. Okay, let's say he's a golfer. He's a golf ball person. He plays golf, right? He's about to throw. So before he throws it, he builds. He's first of all build an energy by going back, by stretching. The amount of anticipation, the amount of energy he takes to build, determine to a large extent will determine how far this stuff is about to throw we go. So there's that build. The first one, I want to throw. I'm about to throw the middle post. Then he throws it right. So like as I said, for some teachers, they just tend to go through this as okay, as a way to just prepare the audience that okay, I'm about to do this. Yes, it's like a theatrical concept in the theater. Before you do anything, you need to prep the mind of the audience. I'm about to do this, and that's what anticipation is. Like I'm about to do this before I do this. Yes, there is that in terms of it being a presentational style so that the action is not missed. However, if you take a closer look, by default, right, though in it might not be exaggerated in cartoon, for instance, now here that it might not be exaggerated in that the build up action might not be exaggerated. Yes, during presentation we need to exaggerate some things to like make the message clear. However, naturally we do that. For instance, if you want to get up right from your seat, you don't just get up immediately. There's usually there's usually that need to build up first. Like you need to slouch a little bit more before you now get up from the seat. So also you find here somebody wants to hit a hammer. Let's say this hammer now something. He builds the energy. He doesn't just go straight. Yes, well I think we can actually go straight by consciously making the effort, but naturally a we build the energy first before we hit. So now this is what the cartoonists they've now taken. They've known this and they've taken this and they've like exaggerated it. For instance, they have this duck, Donald Duck, Donald the duck rather. Before he zooms off, right? So you find this in cartoon, in Tom and Jerry, every cartoon. Before they zoom off, because if they just zoom off straight, we'll be like, what just happened here? But they needed to prep our mind. For some they will like rotate, 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 rotate before they go. So it is, right? I'm about to do this, I'm about to do this, I'm about to do this. Then he goes. So that's what anticipation is. So my point is that it's both presentational and also is a natural thing. So whenever you feel that okay, you know what, I'm not doing this, just know that there's a particular natural order about how movements occur on Earth, on this planet Earth, that you're not paying attention to, and this is how it translates to in motion graphics. Just when we use our basic shape, so you can see this one before it does the actual jump, it built up energy. It went back a bit. It went back a bit. It just went back a bit before it now did the jump. The fifth principle is follow through and overlapping. Whenever an object, usually smaller in size or and weight, is attached to another, that is the main body, we observe this principle happening where the body part that is now called the appendix first drags behind the major body, the main body. It drags whatever action the main body is doing, right? The other one will be like, we'll be like, we'll be dragging it. The other one will be like, ah, you are taking me to this place again, and you are carrying me to this place again. It's as if the appendix, right, is a bit stubborn, right, not following. Well, it's like, the principle we observe in parents and children. Yes, that is it. That is what is even happening. The main body is a parent. The appendix is a child. And you know how children do. That they take usually is when you want them to do something, they usually take time to do something, right? So it is like the major action that the main body is performing. This other one will take time before it follows. The interesting thing now is that when the main body has finally done that and is settled, the child takes time to catch up. As the appendix now, the smaller body now actually takes time to catch up before it also now settles. As it goes back to rest. So that's just the principle. Just know, just that's just how this principle works. So, for instance, here we have this cap now having this appendix having like a pull. So you can see when the head tilted, right, turned, it took a while. It was like, you started again. You started dragging me again, right? That's what this pole is saying. Then when it settled, it then took a while for for the pull on the head down, on the cap down, to also settle. So you also find this is a natural law. Now you find this person, let's say this person fall down. Now all of these principles are very good when you observe them in your animation. They will like make your animation pop. You make your animation pop. Let's say this character fall, right? The whole body don't doesn't just fall at once. If that happens, becomes mechanical, becomes mechanical. So that is not what happened. Rather, for instance, the leg took a while to catch up where the major body, that's the torso now, what the torso has done. So also we find this flower here. We find the flower pot as the major body, then the flower as the appendage. It's trying to catch up with the major body. So this is a also using making use of basic shape, right? How to also achieve that with in the sense that if you are doing motion graphics, so you can see at a time, right? This other part of the body took a while, like slouched, right? Then when it hit the ground, then the other part took a while to now also settle with it. So that is called overlapping, and the other part is just following through the major action that has just happened. And the next principle, the sixth principle, is secondary action. Now, mind you, this is my sixth principle. It doesn't mean that okay they follow a chronological order. No. And also, I would like to say this. Realize one thing, that all these principles, they don't. Many of them, they are in, they are interwoven. Many times when you're talking of one particular principle, you also find the other at work also. Secondary action are gesture that we do, or action that we do to like support the main one, and this helps to add dimension to the character. Like this helps to like give a much more detail about the particular action. What do I mean? For instance, let's say we have this particular action here. Our main action here is the man stamping his feet. He's angry, right? So with stamping his feet, that's like the major action. That's the major thing we want the audience to take away from here. However, to now support and make that whole message sink, we'll now add this arm swing. The arm is now swinging. Now, the nature with which this arm swing also shows how much of anger the man is experiencing, right? How much of that, and also the other, that's the torso being slouched and everything, his face. So all of those are all adding up to tell us how angry is this man now is. So we also find here there's this major cube doing his own performance, right? He's now also being he's also carrying this other little cube. So the little cube is the secondary action. Why the major? Because once we remove this, right, to still give us the idea that okay, this is what is happening. The seventh on my list is timing. Timing really means the intersection of number of frames, the intersection of number of frames and spacing. Though just with the word, you may think it's just okay about time, the amount of second, the amount of frame it will take. For instance, we have 25 frames here, which is equals to um, which is equals to 1 second. 1 second for this coin to perform. Okay, two of them right now for these coins to perform their action. You may think, okay, that's just it, the time it is. No, but when the principle of time, it also take cognizance of how they did perform the action. For instance, the first one, the one up, right? You find it just going at constant speed, right? It's just going at constant speed. Whereas, in the second one, you find that there is initially there is easing happening in the at the beginning. Remember when we spoke about ease? There's ease happening. What does that mean? The drawing, the frame are very much closer to each other. There are frames here closer to each other. Here, as opposed to in the middle. So what we have now is that after in the middle, in the beginning, it will go slow, then goes very fast, then goes slow again. Whereas this one will just continue at a constant speed. Also, the basic principle of timing is that if, for instance, we want this hammer to swing, right? If at one frame, right, at the beginning, we mark, we put it, let's say it's starting from here, then at 1 second, I have it fully swing down. That's my first action. Then, but in the other one, I have I have it start in the same place, but I extended it now, not to 1 second, but 3 seconds, right? Now, at the end of the day, this will happen faster. The 1 second one will happen faster as when compared to the 3 second. The 3 second one will take a little, much later. It will be much slower to happen. About this is how this is a technique to once you understand this timing, right? How what I just explained now, it means that if you find a line here, it means that okay, there's a framing happening here, there's a framing happening here, there's a key framing here. In After Effects, there's a key framing happening here, then also here, So there's a keyframing happening here. Then there is another happening here. There's another, but with this, right, it means that it starts off. You can see the gap between the first one to the second one. So it means that it will be like going from here to here. It will happen very fast. There will be a jump from this first one to this second. Then at the end, there are now there are plenty of frames happening, so it will look smoother. But here there will be jump. So also something similar here. It starts off. So in this one, two to three and four and even five, they will be like jump, right? But from the sixth to the seventh to the everything starts smoothing out. So that's the principle also at play in our eases here and in our spacing. Now you know how the the people playing music, they know how to read notes, right? So we also need to this principle, we also need to understand it. So when we look at this, we understand that okay, this is out. This is out. We understand that at the beginning, right? You can see the keyframe, the frames are arranged. The frames are arranged very, very much closer to each other. But in the beginning, in the middle, they start spreading out, and even yes, it spread out. So they become even from the from the middle. That's from the 12th frame down to the 20th frame. So what we now have is that there's the ease out. There's ease out happening here. As at the beginning here, it's gradually it smoothens out, then it goes fast. It goes slow from the beginning, then it goes fast. So it also here too. So we can read this now that okay, at the beginning there is ease happening, is smooth, is slow. In the middle, it builds speed, it start going. Then later, it now settles, also goes slow. From this 15, from 16 to it goes a little bit slow. So that's how to read. That's about timing. So you can see the first one here is just linear. Everything are arranged evenly. But this other one, the ease in, right? At the beginning you can see there are gaps, and it at the ending there is now easing. That is the ending, it will go slow at the ending. Yes, in this second one there is the easing in, that it eases into it eases in into rest. That is, it eases in into rest at the end. This first one, it eases out of rest. That's at the beginning. It eases out of rest. That's the frames are arranged very close to each other. So here you can like have the diagram, both the diagram and the because the internationally and when we have like people trained animators when they are communicating, right? Sometimes it's just this charts that they will just send, right? And when you look at it, you understand, and that's the same thing. Now, this chart I just showed you now, many animators, they don't take out their time to learn this, right? And yes, the good thing is that once you learn it, you can, once you they send a chart to you, once you look at it, you understand what needs to be happening, how the movements need to. So the way it plays out now, all of those chart that we just read now, we find it at play here. You find this particular one, right? Is So you find plenty of the drawing. This let's say the plane here, right? We have plenty drawing here close to each other. So at the end of the day, it will go slow, much more slower and smoother. You find it going slow and smoother as compared, as opposed to the down one here, the jet here, which is happening very much faster. Because why? You can only find like one, two, three, four, 5 frames at the same time that this other one is also the same time that this one has to complete its action. But the one in up has plenty frames close to each other. So it will give that sense of being much slower.